Before 2024 wraps up, it brings us a major alignment between the two giants as Jupiter squares Saturn. Prepare to deal with roadblocks, make careful plans, and manage expectations as you compromise, sacrifice, and heed the call of Saturn. I am here to share the secrets for navigating this transit with ease and to break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive readings. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you've been here for a while, thank you. If you want to show your support, please leave me a like, a comment, subscribe, and press the notification bell. Watch more of my content to bring more attention to my channel, or say thank you by buying me a tea, a coffee, a croissant, whatever your heart desires. Before we dive in, if you're looking for personal guidance, you have questions, and you want to understand your love life, your career, your purpose, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. I am currently running a year ahead special where you can save on your 2025 reading information. The coupon codes is down below. You can also purchase a recorded reading and save even more, and that is in the shop section of my website. And on my website, you can pick up a variety of products I create. For example, my 2025 planner is a perfect tool to help you maximize the year to come. It contains over 200 pages filled with insights about lunar phases, transits, journaling prompts, intention setting pages, and so much more. I even included the best dates for love, more complicated transits, as well as lucky dates. So it contains a lot of useful information necessary for any astrology lover. And on my website, you can find products I create. I work with astrology in a proactive way, harnessing the energy, capturing the positive transits, and applying it to my life. It started with a desire to help myself, to make my life better. And I am bringing my offerings to you. I'd like to highlight my Jupiter in Taurus candle. We are currently in a year of Jupiter in Gemini, which is Jupiter in the sign of its detriment. It lacks optimism because it is more prone to dissect and analyze and figure out the multitude of solutions. This is Jupiter in Taurus, enhanced by its connection with Venus in Taurus, so it's a lot more stable, abundant, optimistic. It can help you find purpose and success and recognition in life, as well as this is the candle that is perfect for anyone born with Jupiter in Gemini, if you were born with Jupiter in detriment, or Jupiter in Virgo, Jupiter in Capricorn, the other signs that Jupiter may be a little bit too bogged down, right? If you're born with Jupiter in Virgo, you might be too critical, or your optimism gets turned off when somebody criticizes you. And if your Jupiter is in Capricorn, there's a little bit more of that pragmatic, skeptical attitude that can sometimes stand in your way when it comes to exploring more spiritual opportunities. So thank you for listening to that. Let's talk about Jupiter square Saturn. What's interesting, I don't know why I said it like with that emphasis, but what's interesting is we are here dealing with a major turning point in the Jupiter-Saturn cycle. In 2020, we had a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, right? It was called the Great Conjunction. And that was Jupiter and Saturn coming together. I'm just going to look up the exact date for that. So Jupiter and Saturn came together on December 21st, 2020. And that is the time when the new beginning of Jupiter and Saturn cycle is laid, right? It's like a new moon of Jupiter and Saturn. You have the expansive, optimistic Jupiter coming together with a practical, grounded, strategic Saturn. And so about 4 years after that, there is a square, which means that the foundations that you have laid, the things that you have started in late 2020, early 2021, are now having to contend with the reality of the situation. Something in your life, something in the world, but since we're doing horoscopes for the rising signs, for each sign, right, it's quite personal, but something in your life maybe no longer feels aligned with those intentions that you set, and so you need to adjust. You can think of it similarly as August, we think of the first quarter moon, right? The new moon is the time you set intentions. You have a plan for a fun party. And then the first quarter moon happens. So the new moon is the intention. The grand conjunction is like a new moon. And then the first quarter is like the square between Jupiter and Saturn. And that is when you realize that maybe you've invited too many people. Maybe you don't have the vegetarian dish that you promised. And like you have to compromise, you have to sacrifice. Of course, with the new moon, it's a smaller cycle. With Jupiter and Saturn, it's a 20-year-long cycle. So here you're looking at like, you're asking much bigger questions, basically. Previously, we've had Jupiter-Saturn square in 2015, 2016. So that would have been a previous Jupiter-Saturn grand conjunction, but it might be worth considering if you dealt with any roadblocks in 2015, 2016. Would be different houses, different activations in your chart, but it's still worth considering. Most recently, we've had Jupiter in Gemini in a square with Saturn and Pisces in August 2024. So this is part of the same tension, the same square. So definitely reflect on August 2024. And as you listen to your horoscope, think of how has this showed up in August, and how is this second square here to help you do better. Maybe it's going to teach you new things. Maybe it will help you understand yourself better. The exact square occurs on December, so the second square occurs on December 24th, 2024 at 4:59 p.m. But due to the slow-moving nature of these two planets, we start to feel it from Sunday, December 8th, all the way until Friday, January 10th, 2025. So it's a quite long-lasting energy, long-playing energy, right? And it occurs at 14 degrees 1 minute Gemini. Jupiter is at 14 degrees 1 minute Gemini, and Saturn is at 14 degrees 1 minute Pisces. So if you have planets, angles, your ascendant, your descendant, your midheaven, your IC, between 11 and 17 degrees mutable signs, which are Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Virgo, you're bound to feel this the most. And once again, in August, we've had this aspect at 16 degrees 39 minutes Gemini and Pisces. So it would have been hitting sort of similar themes, similar topics. And Saturn is in a superior position in the square, meaning Saturn is getting the final say. So Saturn is like the big daddy here, and whatever Saturn wants, whatever Saturn is asking you to do, you will have to do. So questions of compromises, sacrifices will be especially prominent. In general, let's talk about this aspect, and I'll give you a few dates also to watch out for, as well as tips for navigating it. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, optimism. Jupiter believes that things will work out. Right now, Jupiter is in the sign of its detriment, so it's not as single-minded, let's say. When Jupiter is in Sagittarius, the opposite of the sign it is in right now, it's at home. And in Sagittarius, people born with this placement have very strong morals, strong values, sort of strong aspirations, goals that they pursue. When Jupiter is in Gemini, it, like I mentioned earlier, it tends to second guess and question, and so we may feel less optimistic right now. And then Saturn is, of course, the different side of the same coin on some level, but Saturn, if Jupiter is all about growth and expansion, Saturn is often about constriction. By the way, do you like my new top? Isn't it the cutest thing? My boyfriend got it for me. I'm actually at his apartment. That's why you might be like, where is she? I'm staying with him for a few days, so I'm filming it from a different location for you. Hopefully you like it. But Saturn is about restriction. It's about Saturn wants you to grow, but a lot of times it has this pragmatic, a little bit sad, old grandpa type energy where it knows that no matter how hard you try, you will still run into challenges and things will be difficult. And so you're dealing with this like expansive, even Jupiter being in Gemini is still pretty like optimistic and open-minded and fun. But it's like expansive energy versus constrictive energy of Saturn. So you may experience, main things you're going to experience are inner tension, where you are realizing that certain goals that you have set for yourself, beliefs, ideals, principles no longer hold the same value for you. You feel unsure, you feel insecure. What's interesting is we just had Mercury retrograde in early December, and we have Mars retrograde as this transit is happening. So there are a lot of questions, even, this transit and then two planets either finishing the retrograde or being retrograde. That suggests that there is a lot of uncertainty, that you're questioning, you feel unsure about the future. And globally, a lot of people are feeling uncertain about politics, uncertain about maybe certain like social, political concepts, even with what's happening with AI and technology, and like people don't quite know how we're going to step up to the way the world is developing, right? So inner tension, sort of sadness, melancholy is a big possibility of this transit. Another really strong possibility is outside influence, right? You can think of Saturn as a principal calling you into their office, or a boss who is overloading you with work on Christmas maybe, or you're waiting for a visa and it's not coming. You're getting some kind of difficult messages, difficult like situations, or the bank rejects your request for a loan, or the payment is not coming through, like the workload feels heavy. So there are like also possibilities of outside circumstances. Think back on that example of like creating a party, planning a party, right? Like maybe internally you sort of feel like you don't really want to host it anymore. Maybe externally you go to your favorite store and they're out of chips. And who has the party without chips? What are you talking about, right? So, certain like hardships, external or internal, are quite possible. Financial restrictions, realization surrounding your self-defeating tendencies, your bad habits are quite possible. And you can think, this is also a crisis point of some sort. We're going to have the final Jupiter-Saturn square in May 2016. In June 2025, June 15, 2025, and that one will actually switch signs because Jupiter will enter Cancer and Saturn will enter Aries at that point. So we're going to be dealing with a little bit more of a cardinal energy, which those two signs are about taking action. So chances are, you may be working through some things, but you may not see a complete solution and resolution until June 2025. No reason to give up and feel negative, right? But you may feel like some kind of, turning point, uncertainty, frustration. And what is required of you is, and here are the tips on navigating this transit are, what are words? Mercury is retrograde, right? So the tips are, be ready to do the hard work. Be ready to be patient with yourself and with other people, right? If somebody tells you, hey, this is not working for me, I need you to put in more time and get this ready, doesn't mean, hey, it's never going to happen. All it means, like, this is the time to slow down and review and rethink and maybe put more effort in. So Saturn rewards those who are patient and dedicated. If you commit, your hard work will pay off, resulting in success, wealth, and further opportunities for development, quite likely. You will potentially find yourself making difficult decisions and having to set aside pleasure, especially because Saturn is, like I said, is in a superior position, meaning that it's winning the square. in a battle of Jupiter and Saturn. Saturn is currently the top dog. Saturn is in charge, you know, so you have to be responsible. You have to commit, maybe postpone the fun a little bit, or compromise, right? Yes, maybe you can't forget about work completely, but maybe you can do a little bit of work and still go on that trip, right? And sort of find a way to figure things out. Practice meditation, prayer, read philosophical books. When Jupiter is low, you know, light a candle. Jupiter and Taurus candle is great for this period, but like also asking Jupiter for help, connecting with Jupiter through meditation, prayer are all important things. What's worth noting here too is we don't just have a Jupiter-Saturn square, we also have a T-square between Jupiter, Saturn, and Mercury. And that happens twice in the month, between December 4th and 6th, which it already passed. We had Mercury retrograde forming a T-square with Jupiter and Saturn, which could have given you some clues on what this bigger aspect will be about, right? Mercury getting involved into the mix may have suggested that you've had conversations about these topics. You may have felt overwhelmed, overloaded. And then we have another T-square between December 26th and 27th when Mercury is already direct. And so answers might be coming at this point. And also opportunities to examine things and find solutions. And the fact that the T-square is releasing into Virgo, which means we have 3 mutable signs represented, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Gemini, but the one that's missing is Virgo. And when the sign is missing, it might suggest that the answers lie in leaning into that sign. So self-care, taking care of the things you can't control during this difficult, frustrating energy. If you can't control what your boss is doing, you can't control your approach, you can control maybe your schedule. Make sure that you're not just working, that you're also giving yourself time to relax and unwind. Connecting with nature, grounding, touching trees, hugging trees, and attending to details could also be quite important at this time. But you know, it's a bit of a tricky energy considering we're at the end of the year. It's happening right around Christmas time. Maybe for some of you, it's going to be literally about navigating, you know, your opinions about the world with with a relative you disagree with, and so you'd have to be very careful as you deal with those things, but it doesn't mean it's like impossible to navigate, right? As always, if you're looking for personal guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. Take advantage of my year ahead special to save on your 2025 reading. You can save even more by buying a recorded option in the shop section of my website, and the coupon code is down there. And let's talk about the 12 rising signs. Let's break it down for the 12 signs and see what this might be about for you. If you are an Aries rising, Jupiter in your 3rd house squares Saturn in the 12th. And take a look back at August. We've had the same exact aspect, the same exact tension happening in August. So here you have Jupiter in the 3rd house. It rules your 9th house of education. It rules your 12th house of spirituality, mental health, escape, travel. Squaring Saturn, ruling your houses of career and your house of community, friendships, hopes, and dreams. And so you have, you know, on a very kind of basic level, your desire for growth, your desire for expansion, maybe taking on new skills, maybe learning, maybe becoming an educator or traveling, right? Like you're ready to change your everyday life. You're ready to move. You're ready to like start doing things, maybe get more involved with a community or collaborate with a sibling. There's just this like mental and physical desire for revolution on some level, for expansion, for new opportunities. However, the square to Saturn in the 12th suggests that you're dealing with some kind of limitations. And before you address them, you're not likely to kind of break free and have the freedom to do the things you want. And Saturn in the 12th could be a way in which you sabotage yourself. So you want a new job, but you're not willing to ask your old boss for help, or you're not willing to maybe take a position that will require a small step back, or you're not willing to even like look at things from a slightly different perspective. So having to deal with your own rigidity. There might also be, for some of you, we have Jupiter in the 3rd, which is the house of business, right? Squaring Saturn, which rules the house of career, and the house of opinions of other people. So maybe there's also some restrictions involving a current job or expectations people have of you. Maybe your need to be approved of, your need to present a certain image that you need to address. And kind of once you clear away from those doubts and maybe those expectations that you place on yourself or you deal with, you may have more freedom as well. Other people, as like things, things that like Saturn in the 12th can also suggest that there are some people in your life that are destructive, or relationships, connections, duties, taking care of people who are sick and vulnerable, and like all of that can also feel extra heavy and burdensome at this time, not allowing you the freedom to travel, to start a blog, start a YouTube channel. So once again, trying to have better boundaries around taking care of other people, making sure you're taking care of yourself, and releasing beliefs that no longer serve you can be quite healthy at this time. Please share how this resonates, and if you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasia.astrology.com. You can currently save $20 off your year ahead reading, or save $40 by getting the recorded year ahead reading in the shop section of my website. So definitely take advantage of that and pick up your 2025 planner. For the lovely Taurus rising, Jupiter in the 2nd house squares Saturn in the 11th. Look back at August 2024. We've had the same exact aspect on August 19th. Give it, 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after. And here we have Jupiter in the 2nd house, which is money and values. And you may have new ideas for making money. You maybe have new dreams. You maybe want to spend and invest into something. You're exploring new ideas, right? And with Jupiter in Gemini, Jupiter rules your 8th and 11th houses. There might be new plans to work with other people, maybe heal other people, maybe some kind of like communal goals. And then the square to Saturn in the 11th does suggest that you're either worrying too much about what people might think of you, or you're somehow slowed down by your responsibility to your friends, maybe, or even your responsibility to your current job, because Saturn rules your 10th house. It also rules your 9th house. So maybe old beliefs, or exams that you need to take, right? There might be something as simple as like you are ready to become a lawyer, but then you still need to pass your bar and you've been postponing it. But with Saturn in the 11th, it's like interesting, because it might also even be a sign that Jupiter in the 2nd, you might get like a job offer, but you can't take it because you have some other kind of obligation. I would encourage you to be very thoughtful about who you let into your life and who you let influence you right now. Do not let opinions of other people take sort of control over how you feel about yourself. And be ready to work through some rejections, some restrictions, some slowdowns. If it means you need to take exams, take those exams. If it means you need to look for better allies, more supportive people, take time to look for those people. Do not feel like this rejection or this roadblock means that things will not work out. And please share what was happening in your life in August. I wonder if you're seeing any similarities between what's happening right now. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. You can currently save $20 on your year ahead reading or save $40 on the recorded year ahead reading by buying it in the shop section of my website. Pick up the Jupiter in Taurus candle too, or oil. It's perfect for you guys because it captures Jupiter in your sign. For the lovely Gemini rising, Jupiter in your first house is squaring Saturn in the 10th. And we've had this aspect in August. So my first question to you would be, what happened in your life in August? And if you remember, please share down in the comments below. But Jupiter in the first house, it is about personal growth. It is about personal reinvention. You're seeking to teach, you're seeking to guide, you're seeking to influence people and share your wisdom, share your generosity. Jupiter rules your 7th house and your 10th house. And there might be also certain plans involving career, partnerships, relationships. Maybe you want to start a business with your significant other, or maybe you want to move with your significant other. Yet there is a square to Saturn in the 10th. And before you get to those places, before you have the full freedom to do what you want to do, you have to deal with a difficult boss. You have to deal with the practicalities of life. Maybe you want to move with your partner, but that would require you relocating and you can't afford that right now. There might be an authority figure, some kind of, debt, obligation, person, boss, something that is holding you back and requesting a lot of time or feels like really heavy. And Saturn rules your 8th and 9th houses, so you might almost feel like tied to this situation right now, or like perhaps there is some kind of financial debt or financial compromises you have to make, right? Like you want to start a business, but you have to focus on paying off debts, and so you have to deal with a difficult boss even though you can no longer stand them. Because Saturn is an overpowering, overcoming position in the square, it has the final say, which means that for now you may need to deal with a difficult professional situation. You may need to be patient if you're dealing with some kind of rejection professionally. But eventually, if you put the time and effort in, things will work out. You just need to breathe deeply and keep working, but try not to push too hard and overload yourself and make yourself feel worse. Please share how this resonates, and as always, if you're looking for more, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. My year ahead readings are currently discounted. You can save $20 on the in-person consultation or $40 on the recorded reading by purchasing it in the shop section of my website. And pick up a 2025 planner. It's a great time because by the time it gets delivered to you, it will be already 2025. If you are the lovely Cancer rising, Jupiter in the 12th house squares Saturn in your 9th house. And here you're dealing with your desire to grow, your desire to retreat and escape. Jupiter in the 12th wants you to get away. Get away physically, where you're actually moving, relocating, or get away, find a new purpose, right? Find some kind of a new calling. Maybe you're becoming a healer, maybe you're learning about astrology, tarot, committing to a new passion. While Saturn in the 9th says that, hey, there's some kind of dues you have to pay first. You have to deal with the immigration people, right? Saturn in the 9th, heavy topics, applying for things, filing paperwork, dealing with education matters, right? Saturn in the 9th could also be like, you need to file this report, or you need to write this long essay before you're able to start a new chapter in your life. There might be educators, mentors, people who are elders of you that feel restrictive and challenging, that somehow kind of, you feel like they're limiting your growth and they're making things feel heavy and burdensome. Jupiter rules your 6th and 9th houses. So once again, there is a sense of wanting to travel, wanting to take leaps and escape and do something new. And Saturn rules your 7th and 8th houses, which might also mean that besides those legal education restrictions you're facing, you're also having to deal with your divorce, maybe. Before you move, you have to figure out how to separate things, how to sell the house, right? Maybe there are some kind of financial matters that you are brought down by. I would encourage you to start slow. Know that you will need to deal with these matters eventually. But with Saturn in the 9th, there's also a certain responsibility you have to take control over what you think, to take control over the thoughts you indulge in, because we can't control our thoughts, but we can try to let go of the thoughts that are not healthy, right? So with Saturn in the 9th, it's almost like, yes, things are difficult and life is full of hardship at times and we deal with burdens, but what kind of tape are you playing in your head, and how can you dedicate your effort, your commitment, your perseverance to perhaps rewiring your brain a little bit? And of course, be ready to deal with these heavier questions around legal matters, visas, documents, writing, publishing, and travel potentially. Please share how this resonates. Do you remember what was happening in August? Did you deal with any similar issues back then? If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at Anastasia.astrology.com. My year ahead readings are currently discounted. You can save $20 on the in-person consultation or $40 by buying a recorded reading in the shop section of my website. Check that out and pick up your 2025 astrology planner. The year is almost over, and you want to allow some time for it to get delivered. For the charming Leo rising, we have Jupiter in your 11th house squaring Saturn in the 8th. And my first question to you is, what was happening in your life in August? Maybe you've discovered that there is some kind of debt you need to pay. Maybe you've tried to get out of a contract or some kind of obligation, something that was dragging you down, and perhaps realize that it might take you longer. Please share down below, because we have the same kind of aspect coming back around. And here with Jupiter ruling your 5th and 8th houses, sitting in the 11th, you are coming up with new ideas. You're exploring new partnerships. You're maybe getting more involved with your community, meeting new people, thinking of dreams like being a life coach, being a travel influencer, an astrologer, whatever it might be. And with Saturn in the 8th ruling your 6th and 7th, there are some kind of obligations that you first need to address. It's not like, hey, it's never going to happen, but there are definitely certain responsibilities. There might be literal debts that you have to pay. You want to go back to school and study therapy, right? To be a therapist, to help people. But with Saturn in the 8th, you have like loans, student loans that you need to pay off. Or you just got a mortgage and you have a heavy mortgage payment. Or you just moved in with your partner and there are also a lot of sort of financial responsibilities. So of course, with this square and Saturn in the 8th, the answer is to patiently keep plugging away, keep trying to separate and disengage and pay off the debts, anything you have. Saturn in the 8th can sometimes be like a very hard to describe, hard to put into words responsibility or commitment, like some kind of promise you made to your mother's sister that you're keeping and you feel like you can't escape it. So with this square, you really have to keep trying to get away from the heavy burdens and obligations. And also know that life is full of things we have to do in order to get to things that we want to do. And that's okay, as long as you are, it's like going to the dentist. Nobody wants to go to the dentist and sit there with your mouth open, having them do stuff. But it allows you to have a healthy mouth. Yeah, it was like mouse. That's a different word. But like, you know, there are all these things we have to do. We have to pay bills. We have to pay rent. We have to go to work. Sometimes we don't like to do those things, but they allow us to focus on our dreams. So here it's very literal. How can you take care of things that you don't want to do so that you have more freedom to pursue those that you do? Please share how this resonates, what was happening in your life in August. And if you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. My year ahead readings are currently discounted. And pick up my Jupiter and Taurus candle. It highlights your 10th house of career, and it can be really great for finding success and recognition. For the lovely Virgo rising, Jupiter in the 10th house squares Saturn in your 7th. And you're having to deal with tension between your desire for professional growth and maybe even literally some kind of opportunities, right? Jupiter in the 10th maybe gives you a chance to travel, gives you an opportunity to move. Maybe there's a partnership that is coming your way that you're considering. But then the square to Saturn in the 7th brings up obligations you have to your partner, to your marriage, to your child. Saturn rules your 5th and 6th houses, while Jupiter rules the 4th and the 7th. And so, you know, some literal tension between your desire to grow, your drive to succeed, your dreams professionally, and responsibilities you have in your relationship. It might also mean that, you know, maybe Saturn in the 7th is the sign of getting engaged recently or making some kind of commitment. And so now you need to, you know, you're excited about getting engaged, but maybe it's requiring that you move, and then it makes it more difficult for you to go to work. And maybe you also wonder how let's say your plans to get married and become a parent, you're kind of questioning, how will that affect my professional dreams? So having to weigh these questions of career aspirations and your career goals against your romantic responsibilities. For some of you, it might also suggest that a partner is going through a more difficult time. A partner, even a child potentially, or your business associate, and you have to try to, you know, still pursue your goals, but help them. And so with Saturn being in the overcoming position in the square, you will have to first attend to those duties and responsibilities. You may need to postpone something or sacrifice and compromise. If you are patient and dedicated and persevering, you will definitely figure out the best way to navigate the situation, but you'll have to be patient for sure. Please share how this resonates, what was happening in your life in August. And if you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. My year ahead readings are currently discounted. And I recommend you pick up my 2025 planner or my Jupiter in Taurus candle. It's really great for success and recognition and optimism. For the beautiful Libra risings, Jupiter in your 9th house squares Saturn in the 6th. And here, before you reach the goals of Jupiter, which is travel, maybe you're dreaming of going back to school. Maybe you're thinking about becoming a teacher. Jupiter in the 9th is inviting you to grow. It is calling you to take on more, do more things, travel, take action, right? But Saturn in the 6th is saying, yeah, but do you have the time? Look at all the workload you already have. Look at your children. You're a mother, right? Like, do you have a time to take a second job? Do you have the time to go back to school, right? So Saturn in the 6th is very grimy, very realistic, very practical. So it will likely hit you with these duties, responsibilities. Even someone in your family, Saturn rules your 4th and 5th, someone in your family getting sick, and maybe you had a plan to go on a trip. And so you may have to deal with these like challenges, right? Yeah, that might be a very much like manifestation of this, where you can go travel for a specific reason, or you can't go travel exactly as much as you would like. Chances are that there there is a possibility for compromise, right? You just might not get exactly what you want. You may need to, like I said in the beginning of this video, heed the call of Saturn. Listen to what Saturn is expecting of you. Please reflect on August. What was happening in August 2024, the same year? Have you noticed any sort of challenges and sacrifices? I think for me, as a Libra rising, the last 2 years before this year, I traveled every August. I went to France, and this year I didn't go because I had the goal of going to Nepal and studying yoga. So it's very much like you can get the things, but you have to be ready to pay the price. You have to be ready to be kind of careful and, also realistic about the resources you have, the time you have, the health you have. Maybe sometimes before you become a teacher or you reach a certain goal, you need to take care of your health or health of people in your life. So be patient and be ready for things to take time, and try to perhaps change your schedule a little bit, rethink some of your responsibilities, think of what you can release versus what is impossible, and trust that things will become clear later on. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at Anastasia.astrology.com. My year ahead consultations are currently discounted, and pick up my Jupiter in Taurus candle. This is great because it falls in your house of partners, money, and shared resources, so it can actually bring you blessings through other people. Also, my 2025 planner, it's the perfect time to get it because it takes some time for it to get delivered, and if you order it now, you'll receive it before the year begins. For the lovely Scorpio rising, Jupiter in your 8th house squares Saturn in the 5th. And here you're dealing with Jupiter is in the 8th, and you are thinking of growing. You're maybe thinking of hiring a new employee if you have a business. You're maybe thinking of joining your resources with someone in a matrimony, a literal marriage, or more sort of business connection, business association, right? You're maybe working on healing of yourself, right? You're maybe also researching, committing to like spiritual practice, learning about tarot and astrology. And the square to Saturn in the 5th suggests that there are certain duties and responsibilities and heavy questions around love, pleasure, parenthood, and creativity that you need to address. So let's say you are thinking of starting a business partnership, right? Saturn in the 5th might be the question of like, how much of control are you willing to release? Are you willing to let someone in so that they have a say, and how much say can you give them? If we are talking about a marriage, the square to Saturn in the 5th might be a need to talk about your gambling addiction or your opinions on parenthood to see whether you and your partner agree. There might also be, with Jupiter in the 8th, you maybe feel like ready to make a big purchase, but with Saturn in the 5th, your child needs braces, or like, or even the fact that you're thinking of becoming a parent might be affecting how you're going to spend money. Also having to deal with some kind of tension between what your partner is expecting of you versus what you consider important, some kind of disagreements about fun and spending and finances. All of that is likely. Take a look back at August when we had this aspect for the first time, and let me know what was happening in your life back then. And if you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at Anastasia.astrology.com. Year ahead readings are currently discounted, and also pick up my Jupiter in Taurus candle. It falls in your 7th house of relationships and can bring lucrative clients your way, improve relationships, and offer more success and recognition in love and in life. If you are the lovely Sagittarius rising, Jupiter in your 7th house squares Saturn in the 4th, and you're having to deal with tension between your desire to grow in relationships, your desire to commit, your desire to maybe even move in with your partner or buy a home together, that is somehow impeded, slowed down, delayed, complicated by your responsibilities to your family. by maybe some kind of financial considerations, by even fears involving the future, right? So Jupiter in the 7th has been in the 7th since late May this year, and you're maybe, getting engaged or wanting to move in with your partner, or your partner maybe got a new job and you're going to move with them to a different state or something, right? Which I have a client whose example, this is based on her life. This example is based on that. Yet the square to Saturn in the 4th suggests that maybe you have an ailing parent that you need to take care of. And before you move, it doesn't mean you cannot move, right? But it means before you move, you need to figure it out. You need to find a caretaker. You need to, set things up. Maybe you have a house that you need to sell if you're moving, or, you need to figure out what to do with that house if you're moving in with your partner. Maybe, like I said, maybe it's some kind of childhood wound or fear that you're dealing with, some kind of fear of being dependent on the other person and not having your own autonomy. So a lot of heavy, serious questions are brought up by Saturn, and Saturn is in charge in the square, meaning that you have to answer those questions before you proceed. And please share if you remember what was happening in August. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to look at your year to come, your relationship, or your natal chart. Year-ahead readings are currently discounted. And on my website, you can also pick up a 2025 astrology planner to help you maximize the year to come. If you are the beautiful Capricorn rising, Jupiter in your 6th house squares Saturn in the 3rd. With Jupiter in the 6th, it rules your 3rd and it rules your 12th. You are driven to grow professionally. Jupiter in the 6th might be new projects, something that takes a lot of your time, something that is hard, but something that is enjoyable, right? Jupiter in the 6th, you're committing to taking care of your health, you're committing to a writing project, you're committing to a class you're taking. Something is like taking a lot of your time, and it involves education, writing, skills, interests, business, etc. Healing, right? Healing and health, like physical health, working out. Yet there's a square to Saturn, and there are some dues, some compromises you have to make in order to have freedom to do things you want to do. And with Saturn being in your 3rd house, there might be certain responsibilities you have to your siblings, like you promise your sister you're going to babysit, and your sister is like, okay, can you babysit for a couple of weeks? And you're like, well, but I had plans to work out, right? Or something. There might also be things that are already on your list. Saturn in the 3rd might suggest that you need to declutter your schedule and release some of the heaviness and some of the responsibilities. It might also suggest that in order to get to where you're trying to go, you have to release certain crusted, Saturnian, heavy, difficult mindset, right? Because Saturn in the 3rd might also suggest Saturn rules your chart. It's your planet, right? It rules your 1st house and your 2nd house. So it might suggest that in order to find more freedom and success, you need to let go of your fears, right? And look for opportunities to kind of have more fun, or go within, I think, and think of things that are holding you back internally. So it does feel like maybe there's a little bit of frustration, maybe there's some delays involving travel, responsibilities involving siblings, some challenges. Even, you've been writing and then you get like this heavy dose of feedback, a lot of criticism, and you start to feel like, what's the point, maybe? Or you've been studying something, you've been studying astrology, and you give your first reading and you get negative feedback. So Saturn in the 3rd can be like these heavy words. It can also, for some of you, be about negotiations, dealings involving siblings, maybe some kind of heavy conversations. But it's almost like Saturn is at the top of the square, meaning that it has the final say. So you have to deal with it before you move forward. And I'm curious to hear if this resonates. If you remember what was happening in August, please share. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to look at your natal chart, talk about your relationship or your year coming up. You can also pick up my planner on my Jupiter and Taurus candle. This falls in your 5th house of pleasure, fun, play, and can offer more happiness, optimism, and success. For the lovely Aquarius rising, Jupiter in your 5th house squaring Saturn in the 2nd. And here you're looking at your desire for pleasure, your desire for fun, your desire for romance, and maybe even opportunities to have fun, opportunities to connect, opportunities to become a parent for some of you, or to connect with your inner child, to be more like childlike, somehow restricted and limited by the finances, values, and resources you have. So Jupiter in the 5th might be your partner comes in and they're like, let's go on this vacation, right? Let's have the best time and let's book a trip right now. But then this hits the square to Saturn in the 2nd and you're like, I can't really right now. I don't have free money, right? Like I have to make my mortgage payment, or I'm waiting for some kind of payback, or I'm waiting to start this job. I haven't started it yet. So it might suggest how your finances are restricting you. There might also be a certain, Saturn is your chart ruler, so it's your planet, right? And it rules your 12th and 1st houses. So there might also be certain beliefs you have and certain values that are limiting you. So maybe with Jupiter in the 5th, once again, there is some kind of fun experimentation in relationships that your partner brings in, like sexually, travel, whatever it might be, right? And then it squares Saturn in the 2nd, and your immediate response is like, no, it's not going to happen. And so having to deal with these, first, of course, financial considerations. Just a second. Very orange. I mean, this is like peachy color, but it's all very like lots of orange. So yeah, like having to deal with the financial limitations, if there are any debts you have to pay, any, payments, consult financial advisors, figure out protocols, figure out better sort of spending. It can also mean that, you don't have a lot of freedom financially right now. So figure out ways in which you can create a little bit more freedom. And then on the 2nd level, having to deal with inner restrictions and inner doubts and frustrations in order to get out of a funk, let's say. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. My year ahead consultations are currently discounted. Information is down below. And pick up my Jupiter in Taurus candle or my 2025 astrology planner. I'm like, what is it? Last but not least, if you are the beautiful Pisces rising, Jupiter in your 4th house is squaring Saturn in your 1st. And you're dealing with your desire for growth, your desire for creating a family, your desire for maybe expanding your home, maybe moving in with your partner, some kind of change in your living situation or change in your family dynamic, or even like freedom and healing and lightness and more comfort restricted or limited or somehow like controlled by the duties you have, the busy schedule you have, right? Like maybe you want to start a family, but your work is just so complicated that you first need to address that. You need to create a better schedule, better flow for yourself. There may be health matters that you're having to address. It's interesting because like Saturn in the 1st suggests that you are somehow slowing yourself down. You are standing in your own way. And so with the square, it might be about rethinking how you operate, rethinking how you take care of yourself. It's like, Jupiter in the 4th and you just had a baby. But then Saturn in the 1st is like, yeah, but you haven't taken care of your health and now you're getting sick because taking care of a baby requires a lot of energy. Or you just moved into a new house, but your workload is so busy you can't even afford to spend some time unpacking. So having to deal with these like heavy questions around your mindset, around your self-care, around your schedule in order to have better relationships with family, more comfort, more security, and more ease in life, I see highlighted here. And take a look back at August. We had this aspect on August 19th, 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after, because you may have dealt with similar issues at that point too. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasia.astrology.com. My year ahead consultations are currently discounted. You can also pick up natal chart reading, a relationship reading, and get my planner, my 2025 planner, in order to prepare and take advantage of the year to come. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. It is a really big aspect, arguably one of the biggest aspects of the entire year. We've had it in August. We're having it now. There's one more coming up in June 2025. So we'll be back to talking about it. And I'm excited to hear your thoughts. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so now, and I'll talk to you soon.